Spider-Man, Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Sci-Fi Corner. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Erschen, and this week we are doing a movie review. This is Spider-Man, Far From Home. So just got back from the movies, guys. I just saw the film. Got my signature Spider-Man Far From Home cup there. Pretty cool, huh? You're jealous, right? My wife actually got that for me. Really cool collector's item. So yeah, Spider-Man Far From Home is the follow-up to Spider-Man Homecoming, which was the first solo outing of Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, his first appearance in the Marvel Cinematic Universe was, of course, in Captain America Civil War. And that's where we first got introduced to Tom Holland as Peter Parker's Spider-Man. And I really enjoy his performance as Spider-Man. I think he is the best we've seen on screen of Spider-Man in live action. Absolutely. Not to knock against the other two, where Tobey Maguire I felt was good as Peter Parker and not as good as Spider-Man, and I feel like Andrew Garfield was good as Spider-Man, but not as good as Peter Parker. But I feel like Tom Holland blends both together perfectly. He's good at playing both. You know, he's very humorous, very funny, very witty, and he could get into the physical aspects of Spider-Man because he's very athletic, you know. And he does a lot of his own stunts. And also he's just really funny, and he captures the Spider-Man side, who ranks out his villains and makes fun of all his villains and throws the witty banter around, you know, and the one-liners here and there. That's what I love Spider-Man, you know. That's Spider-Man to me, and he's been the only one so far that has been able to capture that comic book feel of Spider-Man that we read in the comics. Now, the one thing I didn't care as much for about Homecoming, I really enjoyed the film, don't get me wrong, but the one thing that bothered me about it was the fact that he kind of relied on, you know, the Iron Man suit, the suit that Iron Man built for him. And I always felt that Spider-Man doesn't need all that, you know. He's got his own awesome powers. Now, Iron Man needed that because he didn't have actual powers. Spider-Man doesn't really need all that. Yeah, it's a nice bonus. It's pretty cool, you know, and everything. But he doesn't really need all that. There have been times in the comic book where he's worn different suits to adapt to situations. And, of course, he had the alien symbiote suit. But, you know, he's never really needed that. So they do address that a little bit in this movie, because he's put in a situation where he has to be Spider-Man without the suit, you know. And that, I did enjoy that. That was cool. We got to see him do his thing without having all that crap, and we saw he does a great job. He's still Spider-Man, you know. He doesn't need all that crap. At any rate, the film stars Tom Holland as Peter Parker / Spider-Man. It's got Samuel Jackson. That's right, Nick Fury himself is in the film, along with Maria Hill, as played again by Kobe Smulders, who does a fantastic job. And we do get to see a good deal of Maria Hill in this movie, which I really enjoy. I really would like to see more of her in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and playing a bigger role, instead of just being Nick Fury's sidekick, basically. And we got Zendaya returning as Peter's, well, this time she's Peter's love interest. And she goes by MJ, you know. She's not Mary Jane, but she's still MJ in this universe, except she's Michelle Jones. And she's a very different character, absolutely, than Mary Jane, you know. This isn't like the girl next door. She's very, like, kind of quirky and very kind of nerdy and dorky. Almost as dorky as Peter Parker, but at the same time, she's kind of edgy and weird, but cool, you know. I like her. She's really cool. And I can see how he would find her attractive, you know, what he would see in her. And we also had Jon Favreau returning, Happy Hogan. We saw him a lot in Homecoming as well. And he was basically Iron Man's lackey, you know. Basically his servant, kind of, you know. And in Homecoming, we saw him play a bigger role in kind of mentoring Peter Parker as well as Iron Man. And here he takes on even more of a personal role. He works a lot closer with Spider-Man in this movie. And he also has a little bit of thing for Aunt May, Hot May, as Iron Man called her. It's so weird that I find Aunt May attractive. It's not right. But anyway, I love Marissa Tomei. I've always liked her, you know, and she's great in this film. She's great in everything she does. She's a fantastic actress. And also you have Jake Gyllenhaal in the role of Mysterio, which I was really excited about. And I remember always thinking, like, how are they going to pull that off, you know, from reading Mysterio in the comic books? I'm like, I can't imagine this translating into live-action movie, but like this costume would probably look ridiculous with the fishbowl and everything, but somehow they managed to pull it off. His outfit looks awesome, and it looks so much like the comic, which is crazy how it works, you know, it really works. And Jake Gyllenhaal is just a great actor, another actor that's just great no matter what he does. He's very, very interesting. He's very a deep thinker, you can tell. He's an intense dude. And he's intense as Mysterio, Quentin Beck. And I really enjoy his performance in the movie. So another thing that's so great about Far From Home, that one of the things that makes me actually prefer this film over Homecoming, is that we get to see Spider-Man out of his element big time. It's not that Spider-Man can't be Spider-Man wherever he goes. I mean, we saw, just like Nick Fury said, "Bitch, you've been in space," you know. But it's just different. It's a different type of location. We're not used to seeing Spider-Man, like, out of the country, you know. Here he's in Europe, going all over Venice and Rome. And it makes for beautiful visuals. I mean, the visuals in this movie are just fantastic. The cinematography is amazing. And of course that has a lot to do with the outside being amazing. It's not even necessarily that they did such a great job directing it, which they did, but I mean, you don't have to be that great of a director, I'm sure, to capture the beauty of Europe as it is, you know. But at any rate, it makes for amazing visuals, and you see Spider-Man doing his thing, you know, swinging around through Europe and Italy. It's so cool, you know. And now to the basic plot of the film. Now what happens is Peter Parker ends up going on vacation with his school class. I wish I had a school like this where we went on field trips to Europe. In my school, we went to, like, 2 towns over to play soccer or something. They're going to Europe and stuff, which is awesome. So yeah, Peter goes on a school trip, and he decides, you know what? I'm not going to be Spider-Man on this trip. I'm not bringing my suit. But of course Aunt May packs it for him anyway, and it makes for a hilarious scene when he goes into the through the airport. And it goes off, and his bag goes off, and they have to search his bag, and they find the Spider-Man suit. Stuff gets pretty hairy there for a minute. He starts sweating, you know. Oh, damn. And, of course, Aunt May leaves in the middle note, "I can't believe you forgot this." So, like it or not, he's got his Spider-Man suit with him, and he's gonna need it, because he gets a little visit from Nick Fury, formerly agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., as well as his cohort Maria Hill, as played by Colby Smulders in the film. I just want to say I love Colby Smulders as Maria Hill. I wish she played a more important role in the MCU. And she does get some good screen time in this film, but I would like to see her be a bigger part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because she's a great actress. And she does such a great job in the role. as well as Nick Fury, of course, as played by the legendary Samuel Jackson. And he's great in this movie too. He's so much fun. And he kind of gives Peter a hard time, you know. But he does track Peter down. At first, Peter ghosts him and doesn't answer his calls. And Happy Hogan is like, "You don't ghost Nick Fury. You don't hang up on Nick Fury." And yeah, Happy Hogan is a riot in the film. Jon Favreau is so funny, and obviously he's a director in his own right. But he's too much fun. And he kind of has a little thing with Aunt May going. It's like, what's going on there, you know? You can't blame him because Marissa Tomei is beautiful, you know? And, which isn't right. This is Aunt May. She's not supposed to be hot. You know? Hot May, I should say. But yeah, this movie is so much fun. Yeah, getting back to the plot, you know, Nick Fury asks for help from Peter Parker to help him with this situation that's going on in Europe right now. These elementals are taking over this Hydro Man, this giant thing made up of water, you know, this water monster, you know, and there's the Molten Man who's made up of molten metal, you know, melting metal. So the elementals are basically taking over Europe, and the only one that can stand in his way is Nick Fury and Maria Hill, and they want help from Spider-Man. And also Mysterio, as played by Jake Gyllenhaal in the film. Yeah, I love Jake Gyllenhaal's performance in this movie. And some people might be put off by certain things they do with the character, you know. I won't get into that too much. I don't want to spoil too much for you guys. I might have a few spoilers here and there, but I'm going to try not to spoil the hell out of this movie for you, because I want you guys to go and see this. This is an awesome movie. This is the movie you don't want to wait to Blu-ray or DVD or Redbox. You want to go out in the theater and see this movie because it's a great cinematic experience. But at any rate, it starts out that Mysterio's basically a hero, you know. You think he's going to be the good guy, the superhero, fighting along with Peter Parker and Spider-Man, and they're having a Marvel team-up like you see in the comics, you know. And it's like that for a while. It's the two bond, actually. Mysterio bonds with Peter Parker, you know. And they become friends. They kind of get close for a while, you know. He's like giving him pointers on how to score with MJ, you know. It's like, wow, this is different. This is not like the comics I read. But, of course, you know, eventually things are going to take a different turn. Because this is Mysterio, come on. You know the history of Mysterio in Marvel Comics, you know. He's never been a good guy, ever. So I'm sure you can make up your own mind and find that he is not a superhero. And I'm not going to give it all away, but yeah, it turns out if you know Mysterio's character at all, you know one major part about him, and that's the fact that he's a special effects artist, an expert in the illusion. He's a master of illusion. So just think about that, you know. Let that sit inside your head a little, because that certainly comes into play as the film progresses. And I just want to say this film is very funny, you know, just like Spider-Man Homecoming. It's got a lot of the elements that we saw in Spider-Man Homecoming. You've got the love interest with Peter Parker and MJ, which is very, very quirky and very awkward at times, but a lot of fun, you know. It makes you feel like a teenager. It brings you back to high school, you know. And it's so much fun. It's like, you know, get a little bit of that John Hughes, you know, Breakfast Club 80s style stuff going on. And you get a little surprise romance with Betty Brant and Ned Leeds. And Ned Leeds, once again, still plays a major role in this film as Peter Parker's best friend, the guy in the chair. And he's funny as hell, you know. And yeah, you get to see him get a little romance, you know, and with Betty Brant there. Betty Brant plays a more prominent role in this film. You kind of only saw her briefly in Homecoming. She wasn't really a big important character. And this is certainly a different iteration of Betty Brant as opposed to the comics we always saw her, with the dark hair, and she works for the Daily Bugle, And here she works for, like, the school newspaper and the school news program. So it's similar, but she's got long blonde hair. But still, she's very good. She's very funny, and I love their little romance there. Yeah, and this funny one-liners left and right. It's very funny film. I really enjoy it. It's even funnier than Homecoming, I would say. I think this movie is a lot better than Homecoming, and I really enjoyed that film. So I feel like this was a big leap forward as far as Spider-Man in the MCU. I feel like he's going to play a much more important role in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well, now that we don't have certain characters from, the Avengers. I'm not going to say if you guys still haven't seen Avengers Endgame. If you haven't seen Avengers Endgame by now, what's wrong with you? But at any rate, I'm not going to give away those big spoilers, even though they gave a huge one away in the trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home. But still, I'm not going to go there, I don't want to spoil too much. But definitely, guys, I highly recommend Spider-Man Far From Home. This has some amazing visuals. That's another thing I forgot to talk about, was as far as Mysterio goes and his Master of Illusion, and he uses a lot of that, and it makes for fantastic visuals, something that we've never seen before in a Spider-Man movie. And I really enjoyed it. We've seen it in the comics, but we've never seen it brought to life on film, and it's fantastic what they do with it. So creative and so interesting, something totally different for a Spider-Man movie, and we even saw a Marvel zombie in there. We saw a zombie of Iron Man. I was like, oh snap, they bring the Marvel zombies in this. Which was also a very popular comic, Marvel Zombies. But yeah, the visuals with the Mysterio character are just fantastic. And yeah, the cast is just outstanding in this movie, all around, just an amazing cast. I mean, you got such a great cast of characters. You got Samuel Jackson, Colby Smulders, Jon Favreau, Zendaya, Marissa Tomei, these fantastic actors. Jake Gyllenhaal, and he's amazing in this film. Yeah, just an amazing cast, and they're all at their best. They all give it 100%, and Tom Holland is an amazing Spider-Man. He's the best Spider-Man ever. And I hope he just keeps playing Spider-Man until he's like 50, You know why? Because I want Spider-Man to grow up. I want to see adult Spider-Man. I'm tired of seeing the high school Spider-Man. It's like, come on, he graduated, he became an adult, he became a science teacher, he worked in a laboratory. It seems like his character in film can never seem to progress past being a teenager, I want to see him be the experienced Spider-Man. We saw a little bit of that in Into the Spider-Verse. Why can't we bring that into live action? I want to see adult, experienced Spider-Man, the guy that knows how to be Spider-Man and is an expert at being Spider-Man. Instead of, kind of figuring things out. I want to see a badass Spider-Man that's been Spider-Man forever, Hopefully we'll get there one day. If they just stop recasting him, just keep Tom Holland. He's young, he can play Spider-Man for a long time, So, let's do that, man. Let's make Spider-Man one of the most important Marvel Cinematic Universe characters. I'm hoping for that. Because he deserves to be, because Marvel, he is the flagship character of Marvel Comics. Spider-Man. There's nobody bigger in Marvel than Spider-Man. So I'm hoping that he becomes that way in the movies, because it's been a while, Unfortunately, we had the missteps of Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3 that kind of knocked them down and hurt bad, But now we're back, and Spider-Man's back in good shape, in the right hands with John Watts hopefully continuing to direct because he's done a fantastic